I'd like to welcome everybody to today's work session, February 23rd, Monday, 2026. I'm going to ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so this evening we have a couple of things we're going to talk about for our invocation, our in memory, um, and our proclamations. But for this afternoon, we're going to get right into some of the agenda items for this evening. Public hearing, I think Steve Bengar will be presenting that to us. We have a resolution for a bond resolution for a sewer improvement project with resolution 2026-151. That's the exact same thing, another bond resolution for a sewer project and equipment bond. We're also going to discuss the Worley Drive rezoning and some development review actions regarding the Snowberry Lane. We have no personal appointments this afternoon, so we're going to get right into our consent agenda items. So resolution 2026-154 is going to require a voice vote. We're going to hold that until this evening. Resolution 2026-155. Does that require a voice vote? Okay. We're setting a public hearing for the 2026 waterline improvements replacement. Any objections to adding that to our consent agenda?
Nope.
Resolution 2026-156 is the street culvert replacement at ditch 10. Any issues with setting that on a consent agenda? None. Resolution 2026-157 is an engagement letter. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-158 is the retention of bond counsel. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-159 is the new firefighters for Gethville Fire Company. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-160, new firefighter for East Amherst Fire Department. Any issues with that being on our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-161 is amusement license for 4380 Main Street, Damon University's Spring Fest concert. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? No. Resolution 2026-162 is a change order for parking lot paving, CRS 6104. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-163, any issues with adding the vehicle auction request to our consent agenda?
No.
Resolution 2026-164 is a surplus office equipment auction request. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? No. Resolution 2026-165 is the fixed asset disposals for Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-166 is budget transfers and amendments. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Resolution 2026-167 is the extension of bid for number 2022-002, Townwide Plumbing, CRS 6086. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-168 is the extension of overhead doors repair, CRS 6116. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-169 is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a utility work agreement for a sanitary sewer manhole adjustment. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Resolution 2026-170, the resolution authorizing supervisor to sign a utility work agreement for a sanitary manhole adjustment for various routes in Amherst. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-171 is the authorization to execute amendment number 1 for intermunicipal agreement for Casey Road. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Resolution 2026-172, change order for final quantity adjustment Pine View Drive waterline replacement. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Resolution 2026-173 is a change order for EC Goodwin Electric Corporation, Paradise Park Restroom. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-174 has a Scribner's error. Amend to read, approved pending successful CRS review. So resolution 2026, we can consider a Scribner's error. Scrivener's error. Change order 1, final quality adjustment, Concrete Applied Technologies Corp., DBA Catco Evergreen Terrace Street Lighting, Town of Amherst job 0.054A CRS 6125, and then to further read, approved pending successful CRS review. Any issues with that Scrivener's error in today's consent?
Nope.
No. Okay, going to highway. Travel approval, resolution 2026-175. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
Nope.
Human resources, resolution 2026-176 is the interim release, the New York Liquidation Bureau. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-177 is the recreation attendant. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
Nope.
Resolution 2026-178, recreation attendant, 2 positions. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-179 is the appointment of our town assessor. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? We are going to table resolution 2026-180 until our meeting in March. So we're going to talk about that one. We will table this at our actual meeting this evening at 7 o'clock. Resolution 2026-181 is a clerk for the attorney's office part-time. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
Nope.
Resolution 2026-182 is the coordinator for federal and state emergency programs, economic development department. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-183 is Detective Sergeant of Police Department. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Resolution 2026-184 is the Detective Police Department. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
Nope.
Resolution 2026-185 is the Detective Police Department position. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-186 is a paralegal for our town attorney's office. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Moving on to police, resolution 2026-187 is a training and travel request. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
Nope.
Resolution 2026-188 is another training and travel request. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-189, training and travel requests. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-190 is the training and travel request for homicide symposium. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-191 is a contract extension for United Uniform. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-192 is the Visual Computer Solutions. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-193, Axon Enterprise, camera system installation. Any issue with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Resolution 2026-194 is the Erie County Congregate Dining Contract Amendment, CRS 6092. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No.
Sewer plant, resolution 2026-195, travel request required for operator training course. Any issue with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-196, the award of bid for the Hunting Valley Construction Utility Repair. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Youth and Recreation, resolution 2026-197 is a travel authorization for U.S. Ice Rink Association. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-198 is a legislative grant for CRS 5796. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
Nope.
Resolution 2026-199 is the summer recreation program fees. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-200, we are going to withdraw this evening. That will not be on tonight's agenda. So we're going to withdraw that one. Communication for 2026-116, if we're okay at setting a public hearing, we can add that to our consent agenda. Any issues with that? None. Resolution 2026-17, recommend we receive and file. Any issues with that? Resolution 2026-18, recommend we distribute to the town attorney's office. Any issues with that? Resolution 2026-19, I'm not going to try that name. Any issues with referring that to the town attorney's office? None. Communication for Merchants Insurance Group, any issues for Resolution 2026-20 referring to Town Attorney's Office? None. We have some public improvement permits. We can authorize those on consent.
The only issue is I have been advised that my office did not review the easements related to these. So if you're going to do that, I just ask that it be subject to town attorney approval, review and approval of the easements related thereto.
Okay, so I'm of the recommendation we do authorize these public improvement permits under the consent agenda with the stipulation that the town attorney's office will be reviewing the easements for all of these permits
And approving.
and approving.
Correct.
Jack and John, I'm sorry, Councilmember Davis and Kavanaugh, any questions with that? Any issues with that? Nope. Okay, so can we consider that a stipulation for all the permits if we go through?
All
it?
4 of them, please.
Yes, all 4 permits. So based on the referral to the town attorney's office for the approval of the easements, we're just going to approve all of these permits with that stipulation. So Resolution 2026-201, any issues with putting that on consent based on the stipulation we talked about? Resolution 2026-202, any issues with adding this to our consent agenda based on our stipulation? No. Resolution 2026-203, public improvement permit for number 3165, any issues with adding this to our consent agenda based on that requirement? And Resolution 2026-204, any issues with adding this under our consent agenda based on the town attorney's request?
No.
Okay. So we have an executive session tonight, pretty lengthy one. We have some employment history for a particular person in the town. We have some pending litigation matters to discuss, and we have also the discussion of a real property that might proposed sale of real property publicly it might affect value. Thank you. So seeing no issues, I'm going to make a motion that we go to executive session.